Hi. So I had, I think, quantity-wise, my best reading month ever in March. Thank you. Thank you so much. So let's talk about it. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Mick and I read 8 books in the month of March. I usually read on average about 5 books per month, but I did receive a Kindle for my birthday. It's really changed the game for me. It really changed the game for me, especially earlier this month when I randomly went into a intense thriller phase and read several back to back in like a 3-day period. It was really working for me. Like actually addicted to it at this point. It's kind of a problem. I should be reading all of the books on my physical TBR. I got a little swept up in the Kindle of it all this month. So I only have 5 books physically in my possession. I read 3 books I do not own. What are you gonna do? You know? Anyways, I have the stats of the books that I read this month. So the breakdown of the 8 books that I read this month, I read 1 paranormal romance, 1 historical romance, 1 sci-fi, 1 nonfiction, 1 YA contemporary fiction, and 3 thrillers. So other than the fact that I kind of got obsessed with thrillers for a second in the beginning of March, I had a really big spread this month, which is really nice. Like I feel like I had a little bit of everything. It was really fun. My average rating, I actually didn't calculate. I guess I could do that right now. It's definitely not as high as it was last month. Mostly, well not mostly, partially because I just have such a hard time rating thrillers. Like I literally never know what rating to settle on. It's harder for me to give a thriller above a 4 unless I had like the absolute best time and was blown away by like the craft of it. But for the most part, like I just tend to rate thrillers lower. I'm pretty sure my average star rating for the month is gonna be low. Let's see. Oh no, it's gonna be really low, I fear. Okay. Yeah, so my average star rating for the month was 3.36 stars. 3.36 stars. What's crazy is I still feel like I had such a good reading month. Like never did I finish a book and feel like that was a waste of my time. You know, like every time I was reading something, I was having a great time. It's just like when it came down to it, it didn't like sit as high on my rating scale as it could. Do you know what I mean? I guess you will know more when I explain. 3.36 is a bit low, I will say, especially coming off of my like, I think it was like a 4 point something star average last month. I only read 2 books for my TBR. I did start a 3rd one. I just didn't finish it before the month was over. And I only read 1 book from my 24 in 2024 list, which puts me at 4 when I should be at 6. So we have some work to do. We have some work to do. Yeah, so that's it for stats. Let's go ahead and talk about the books in specific so you can understand why my average rating was on the lower side. Also, I just want to say I'm either sick or have allergies slightly. Every once in a while, my nose gets stopped up mid-sentence. So sorry if you're hearing that at all. Just wanted to acknowledge it. So sorry about that. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the books. So the first thing I read in the month of March was Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. First of all, let me just say I'm addicted to the cover. I think it's amazing. I don't know what it is about the cover that I'm addicted to, but I just love it. I'm obsessed with it. I thrifted this in February and I had never heard anything about it specifically. I feel like I remember people talking about like An Abundance of Catherines and The Fault in Our Stars and Paper Towns, but I never really feel like I heard any kind of discussion of Turtles All the Way Down back when John Green was like in his peak fame. I think when I was in like early high school, late middle school. I recently saw an article saying that this was being developed into a film, I think for HBO or Prime, I'm not sure. But that made me want to give the book a try and see, basically revisit John Green's writing as an adult and see how I felt about it. And whatever the mood was that I was in February, and I picked this up, I was like, I really think the exact mood I'm in right now, I will eat this up. And I was correct. I read it so quickly. To be fair, it is a YA contemporary fiction. I think it's literally like YA literary fiction, I think. And it's only 270 something pages. So like big font, nice margins, 270 pages, so easy to just fly through. I had a great time. That being said, I did settle on 3.5 stars. The more I thought about it after I finished it, I was like, okay, there's definitely a few things. There's a few things. If you've never heard about Turtles All the Way Down before, it follows 16-year-old Aza, I think is how you say her name. That is how I was reading it. I'm not sure, but we'll find out, I guess, in the adaptation if that's how you say it. 16-year-old Aza who has OCD. Turtles All the Way Down is actually in reference to the thought spirals that she goes down as someone that has OCD. And basically at the beginning of the book, she finds out that one of her childhood friends, Davis, who she hasn't spoken to in a long time, his father has gone missing. He's a fugitive on the run from the police and he's a billionaire. Basically, the police are offering a reward reward for anyone that can give them information that will lead them to the location of Davis's father. And so Aza and her best friend Daisy kind of team up to kind of reinsert themselves into Davis's life and figure out what happened to his dad. But honestly, that is more a subplot. The romance that happens is more of a subplot. I feel like it's more about Aza coming to terms with the way that her mind works, you know, figuring out where she fits in the world, navigating her friendship with Daisy and her relationship with her mother, and really just like finding herself. I feel like I would say this is way more coming of age than it is like romance or mystery. It's just like it has like those subplots. I will say, with how short it is and the fact that it like just sort of like skims on a bunch of topics, I didn't feel super connected to the characters when it was all said and done. Like when I was sitting and thinking about it when I finished the book, I realized that I hadn't felt like hugely emotionally impacted, even though this does deal with a lot of topics that I feel like would impact somebody emotionally. It's tackling so many topics at once. Like, yes, like there's the overarching like coming of age, working on one's mental health, that kind of thing. But there's also obviously a million other moving parts, and it's such a short book. Like, a lot of the things that happen in it just feel a little bit like, I want to say like half cooked, but I feel like it was on purpose because obviously he knew what he wanted the main focus of the book to be. It just feels weird sometimes when books try to include so many things, almost like in a way to make it feel more interesting, then those things almost don't matter or don't mean as much. I don't know. I really don't know how to explain it. Let me see what I put in my notes app about it. Basically just said I didn't feel super connected to the characters, and overall the stakes weren't super tangible. Like obviously there was this whole thing where this kid, this Davis kid, his dad is on the run from the police and it's a big deal, but it's kind of like skimmed over in a lot of ways. I don't know. It's really interesting. But I will say the writing I thought was so beautiful. So John Green, so many good quotes about the human experience, I guess, like things that only someone like John Green can put into words in a way that will sucker punch you like that, because it's like so simple but so profound, you know, and also sometimes quirky. No, I just overall felt like it had so much potential and could have been so vivid and like striking of a story, but he didn't like flesh a ton of things out. I would have liked to have been more fleshed out, if that makes sense. Overall, I would recommend this if it sounds like something that you would find interesting. Like I can see how anyone that has struggled with their mental health in this way, like specifically relating to OCD or anxiety or anything like that, I can see how this would be very, what's the word? Like I feel like you would feel very seen from something like this. So I would definitely recommend it if it sounds like something you'd like. Keep in mind it's very John Green for me in the best way, but I know his writing style is not for everyone. So yeah, book number 1, Turtles All the Way Down. Okay, up next I read The Housemaid by Frida McFadden, which I gave 3 stars and I read on my Kindle. Luckily I did have it on my physical TBR, so I checked it off in both senses. But I've had this one for quite a while and I feel like this is one of those like book talk books that everyone and their mom has read and has an opinion on. I will say, first and foremost, so bingeable and fast paced. Like I think I read this maybe in 2 sittings. Like I had such a good time and I blew through it. Basically, The Housemaid is about a young woman named Millie who becomes the housemaid for this couple and their daughter. She moves into their house. They have like a room for her up in the attic and they basically just expect her to take care of any and all needs they have. Cleaning, cooking, helping with taking care of the daughter. And she's so excited because she is in a situation where she's desperate for a job, desperate for anything, and she really needs somebody to take a chance on her, and this family does. However, when she starts the job, the wife starts treating her terribly and is acting like a crazy person. And it basically just unravels from there. It's a mystery thriller. By the way, I don't know if I said that. How do I put this into words? First and foremost, Millie, our main character Millie, you're so dumb, girl. She's so dumb. Like, half of the decisions that she was making in this book, I was like, what? Like, well, no, for sure. For sure. Also will say almost every aspect of this book, almost every aspect I did guess. Any of like the plot twists, and there weren't very many, I guessed them, including what happens at the end. So like that part of the reading experience wasn't there for me, which is also why I knocked it down. And this is my second Frida McFadden book, and I just have to say, I like that her writing style is very direct. Like it's to the point, there's no fluff. Like you are, like every time something is happening on the page, it is for a reason and things are moving. But I will say she does this thing a lot where she's like leading you exactly where she wants you to go. Like she'll put like leading sentences at the end of a chapter and I'm like, I know, you know what I mean? Like I know, like I'm right there with you, girl. I'm right there with you, girl. Anyways, overall, I had a blast. I read it so fast. I don't think that I will be reading the sequel to this. I might, who knows, if it's on Kindle Unlimited. It seems that I'll just pick up anything on Kindle Unlimited, so maybe, but like as of right now, like when I finish it, I wasn't like, oh, I have to go read the sequel right now. Yeah, anyways, I'm glad I read this. I'm glad I got it off my physical TBR, but I personally didn't think it was anything crazy special, but it was fun. It was fun, and sometimes sometimes what more can you ask for from a thriller, you know? But yeah, book number 2. Okay, next up I read His and Hers by Alice Feeney on Kindle Unlimited. I don't have it physically. I do not have it physically. It was late at night one night and I couldn't decide what I wanted to read, and I felt like I wanted a thriller because I had just finished The Housemaid and had a great time. And I forgot that sometimes, like, if you're in the right mood, a thriller can really hit. Like, it can hit so hard, like it can really hit. So I just started reading His and Hers and I really liked it. I have only read Rock Paper Scissors by Alice Feeney and I didn't love it. Like, it really wasn't my cup of tea, but something about this one really just scratched an itch for me and I don't know why. Like, there were definitely some ridiculous aspects to this for sure, but I'm kind of realizing more and more that if it's done well, I don't really mind that in a thriller, you know? Like, if something's ridiculous, I can look the other way if I'm having a good time. Like, if I start thinking critically about it, like maybe it bothers me a little bit, but for the most part, like, I don't need things to feel like real life for me to be having a good time. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? I gave it 4 stars, which now that I'm thinking about it is maybe a little high because I actually can't remember a single thing about it right now. Like, I'm racking my brain to kind of give you guys a rundown of the plot and I don't remember. I'm pretty sure, let me read the summary because it says, when a woman is murdered in Blackdown, a quintessentially British village, newsreader Anna Andrews is reluctant to cover the case. Detective Jack Harper is suspicious of her involvement until he becomes a suspect in his own murder investigation. Someone isn't telling the truth and some secrets are worth killing to keep. There's 2 sides to every story. Yours and mine, ours and theirs, his and hers. So basically it's like a dual POV thriller. You're going back and forth between Jack and Anna's point of views. They're both investigating this series of murders that's happening in this town. And at the same time, like, secrets about like their lives, their relationships, whatever, are coming to light. And you as a reader obviously are trying to figure out who's responsible. So many times, like, I was following the red herrings. Like, I thought that I had it and I didn't. Towards the end, I will say, the final reveal I did get. I was expecting it. Not like I had it the whole time. I think I maybe came up with it like when it was pretty close to happening. Like, I can't really toot my own horn for that because I'm sure that Alice Feeney was trying to get us there maybe before it happened. But in my notes, I don't know if this is being generous, but I found it so bingeable and engaging the whole time. I did say that I thought the ambiguity got annoying at times because there was a lot of like inserts of like an unknown narrator, and sometimes that took me out of it. Like, I wasn't like, at certain points I didn't feel like it was really adding to the story. But I don't know, reading the thriller on Kindle truly hits different. Maybe if I'd read it as a physical book I wouldn't feel the same way, but I blew through it and I had such a great time. So 4 stars from me. 4 stars from me. Yep. Anyways, okay, book number 3. Okay, and then next I read Little Weirds by Jenny Slate, which was on my list for so long, but it's also so strange for me. This is basically an essay collection by actress and comedian Jenny Slate. Kind of like reflections and anecdotes about her life and just kind of like her ponderings and musings and whatnot. It really just feels like you are looking directly into her brain. It's beautiful to me. Like, her brain is so cool. It's so funny because it's simultaneously like profound, gorgeous, metaphorical like interpretations of the way the world works and how we fit into it, and then like fart jokes. So the duality of woman, for sure, the duality of woman. I'm not gonna rate this because I've decided that I don't want to rate nonfiction books because I really don't know how to rate them ever. But I listened to most of this on audiobook and she's the one that narrates it, and overall I just felt like I was living inside of her brain every time I was driving and listening to this. And I would say if you read the description of this and it even slightly interests you, I say give it a shot. Download it on Audible, just like listen to it because I think her brain is so cool. And yeah, I can see how this would be hit or miss for people. I'm not 100% sure that I personally would have loved it if I didn't already love Jenny Slate. So do with that information what you will, but still I would recommend it. I think it's beautiful and I love her. So book number 4. Book number 5 was Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak, which is another thriller that I read on Kindle. It's another thriller that I read on Kindle that I don't own physically, and I gave it 2.5 stars. And though, super bingeable, blew through it, super easy read. I picked it up because my friend Maddie read it for one of her 24-hour reading vlogs. She also like wasn't obsessed with it, and some of my other friends had rated it on Goodreads not super highly, but something about the premise of it just sounded intriguing, and as soon as I started it I was like, oh, I'm gonna be able to read this so fast and I think I'm really gonna enjoy it even if I wasn't like obsessed with it at the end of the day, which is exactly what happened. Basically, in Hidden Pictures, Valerie Quinn is fresh out of rehab when she takes a job as a babysitter for Ted and Caroline Maxwell. She is to look after their 5-year-old son, Teddy. She immediately loves it, but one day, Teddy draws something different than he usually does. A man in a forest dragging a woman's lifeless body. And Teddy's artwork becomes increasingly sinister and his stick figures quickly evolve into lifelike sketches. He begins to wonder if these are glimpses of a long unsolved murder. Knowing just how crazy it all sounds, Mallory nevertheless sets out to decipher the images and save Teddy. So that's basically the general premise. It's girl babysitting boy, him drawing disturbing things, her being like, something's not right about this, and like working to figure out what's going on. The illustrations were cool. And other than that, it was just like a very solidly mid book, in my opinion, like according to my taste. It felt like a very like rudimentary story. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, I don't know if it was like a combination of the writing style and the story itself, or like what was going on, but I had a good time. Like, I wanted to finish it and I wanted to know how everything was gonna play out. I just feel like there were certain things that were questionable about the way that it played out in the end. I don't want to go into too much because I don't want to like spoil the actual, like I don't want to spoil like the nature of the plot twists or anything, so no. But I will say it started out super spooky and really engaging, and then like halfway through it just disappeared. Like the spookiness isn't spooking anymore. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what happened, and I don't know how to explain. Like, just know it's like less spooky after halfway, and I wanted it to be spooky. That's what I was eating up in the first part. So anyways, 2.5 stars. Yeah. Okay, next I listened to Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir on Audible. I read some of it, but honestly, me trying to read this book physically was not working. Having it read to me, I was enjoying myself. Reading it, no. If you don't know what this book is, this is a sci-fi book that I think is like pretty popular. It's by the author of The Martian, and I would say that the two books fall into very similar categories. Like, if you liked The Martian, I can almost guarantee that you will like this. And if you didn't like The Martian, I can almost guarantee that you won't like this. Like, they have very similar main characters. They both take place in space. It's kind of like a lot of like science engineering to save an astronaut's life. Basically, this is about an astronaut named Ryland Grace that wakes up one day on a spaceship and cannot remember how he got there or what his mission is. And so it's basically him trying to piece together his past and what led him here, and also solve the crisis at hand. Like, he's been sent off to save the world and he doesn't know what he's supposed to do. So very interesting premise. Very, very sci-fi, like heavy on the side. I would say this is 87% science terminology, 13% sarcasm. Well, actually 87% science terminology, 10% sarcasm, and then 3% he's just a little guy about, you know, something else. So I had a good time. I don't know that if I was reading this, I would have finished it. I actually DNF'd The Martian like last year, I think. And I at the time thought it was just because I had seen the movie and knew how like the back third was gonna play out. And so I just getting bored because I already knew everything that was gonna happen. And it was also very science, so like I couldn't force myself to keep going. But honestly, around the 2/3 mark in this is where it started to lose me. And like, even though I was listening to it on audiobook, like I would get in the car and I was like, no, like I kind of wish it was already over. Like, I don't really know that I want to listen to it right now, but I did. I fear that if I had been trying to read this physically, I would have DNF'd it, which I know is crazy because a lot of people love this book. I will, like the audiobook is really good. Like, if you like sci-fi, I say give it a try, and specifically, at least for part of it, listen to the audiobook. There's some cool features to it. Obviously, I can't tell you specifically why, but like something happens about midway where the audio feature is like really cool, and actually I would be curious to know. Oh, there we go. Okay, that makes sense. I had actually not looked at what that part looked like. Overall, I just don't know that this is exactly the kind of book that's like up my alley. I don't think that science fiction in this way, like specifically about like astronauts and like journeys into space, is like my vibe in book form. I love sci-fi movies. This didn't hit for me the way I wanted it to, and also The Martian didn't. But also, again, I've only read Andy Weir, so maybe I should try somebody else before I make that kind of judgment. But I would recommend it if it sounds like something you would like. Just, it was losing me a little bit. It was losing me a little bit. Yeah, that's it. So that was book number, what, 6, Project Hail Mary. I don't know if I said this, but I think also the personality of the main character wasn't my favorite thing in the whole world. And that probably played into me not being obsessed with the book, because it is just him alone. Like he is this, the whole book is him, and we're like in his head. I didn't love that. Anyways, enough about that. Okay, next I read Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Y'all, ate this up. I ate this up. This is a paranormal romance. Ali Hazelwood first published paranormal romance. It is about a forced marriage between a vampire girl and a werewolf man to, you know, protect the peace between their people, broker a peace between their people, create an alliance, whatever it is. Like, I don't know what to say other than I really, really enjoyed myself. I settled on 4.5 stars, I think, or maybe just 4. Oh, I guess I settled on 4. Honestly, it's somewhere between 4 and 4.5 for me. It was just so fun, like literally so fun. I went through such a big like vampire werewolf phase that maybe it just like specifically really works for me. But I don't know, like I haven't watched very many reviews of this, so I don't know how people are going about like discussing this, but there is something that is very this book is what's called Omegaverse adjacent. Like it's not actually in the Omegaverse, I don't think it counts as Omegaverse. That's basically just like a whole world of fiction relating to werewolf romance, to my understanding, I think. And so there are certain elements obviously of werewolf romances that are included into this that a lot of people were familiar with beforehand that I experienced for the first time in this book. And I didn't love it. I will say I didn't love it. Basically, there's just certain aspects of the spice that I could have done without personally. But like overall, it was really good. Like I was giggling, I was rooting for them. I will say I don't understand why our main character Misery's brother's name, her twin brother, mind you, is Owen. I feel like I heard somebody say that in a review. Owen? Misery and Owen. It's actually my book club's book for this month and we didn't get to meet on it, so we'll be meeting on it in April and nobody else has read it and I need somebody in my life to have read this so I can discuss it with them. I sent it to one of my friends. Like I sent it to her via Amazon and I said, please read this when you finish whatever it is you're reading right now because I need somebody else to read it so I can discuss it. Like I can 100% see this would not be for everyone. I had a great time. Anyways, there's a lot of like the stereotypical like Allie Hazelwood like quirky girl, quirky little girl, big man vibes, but I don't care. I had a great time and I loved it. I eat that shit up. So Bride. Okay, and then lastly, I got on the plane on the Thursday night right before the last weekend in March, and I had One for My Enemy by Olive Blake, which is the other book that was on my TBR for the month that I was gonna try and finish while I went home to Texas for the weekend. I had that downloaded. Like I bought it on Kindle and I was gonna read it on the plane. And then I saw one singular tweet about the book that the next season of Bridgerton is based on, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. It's Penelope and Colin Bridgerton's story, like how they fall in love. Because if you don't know anything about Bridgerton, basically each season follows a different couple getting together and it's like all of the children of the Bridgerton family. This one is about Colin and Penelope, who have always been friends, but Penelope has always been obsessed with him. He's never seen her as anything other than his little sister's friend. And then obviously over the course of the book and subsequently the season that's going to be coming out soon, they fall in love. I saw one tweet that had a little excerpt from one of their scenes and I was like, oh, so I need to read that. And then I bought it. I bought a second book on Kindle and I read mostly the whole thing on the plane ride. Yeah, like, it was not on my radar before that second and I did read it all that day. Like I finished it when I got to my parents' house. So I gave it 3 stars. It's definitely not like groundbreaking, earth-shattering, anything like that. I took some issues honestly with Colin Bridgerton that I did not think that I would have had. Like I have a feeling that they are going to depict him differently in the TV show. And obviously also Penelope's character is different in the TV show. Like I don't like, she has a little bit more agency I feel like in the show up to this point because she's already been in the show in the previous seasons. She just hasn't been like a main character. I don't know. I just had some issues like with like because the structure of their romance is like friends to lovers, right? Like they've always been friends, she's always been obsessed with him, he's never seen her like that, and then it changes for him. I don't love him. I don't love him. Like I feel like at times he was a little bit of a child and I feel like some of the issues that I have with Regency era romances sometimes are just in the very patriarchal nature of things. Obviously there's different societal expectations for men versus women and the way that the men can treat the women and whatnot, and I really only like Regency era men when they are completely subverting those expectations and are being like modern men. You know what I mean? Colin Bridgerton is not that. He's not. In some ways he is. Like in some ways like he's supporting her ambitions and whatnot and he wants her to work and he thinks that's cool. But like also sometimes he's like manhandling her a little too much and I'm like, okay. I will say I still am excited for the season because the spice was good. Even though there's really not that much of it, I thought that there would be a lot more in the books themselves because there's a decent amount in the show. There wasn't very much at all. I don't know. In the book, at least, their chemistry wasn't hitting. But I have faith. I have faith in Miss Shonda Rhimes and the Bridgerton team to really make me care about them and believe it in this season. So we'll see. Okay, so that is it for this month's wrap up. 8 books, feeling pretty good. Overall, like no like crazy new favorites other than the fact that I ate Bride up. I still feel like I had a great reading month. I didn't feel slumped out. If anything, I read more than I think I have in any month previous to this. But overall, I'm really happy with the books that I got to this month and I would love to hear your thoughts if you guys have read any of these, specifically Bride. If you've read Bride, let me know what you thought okay? Because I know it's so divisive. But I had a great time, so would love to hear your thoughts. Anyways, that's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, let me know if you have any thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.